Good morning. My name is Amy Frazier, and I'm the president and CEO of the Culpeper Chamber of Commerce. And on behalf of the Culpeper Chamber of Commerce, it is my pleasure to extend a warm welcome to each and every one of you gathered here today for our first signature event of the year, the State of the Community. We're thrilled to welcome you, our business leaders, community leaders, and elected officials. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us in person for this event for the first time in several years. Your presence enriches our gathering, and your contributions enrich our community in ways beyond measure. The Culpeper Chamber stands as a beacon of collaboration and innovation, tirelessly dedicated to fostering growth and prosperity within our beloved community. Our mission remains steadfast: to empower businesses, to advocate for economic vitality, and to champion the unique spirit that defines Culpeper. Throughout the course of this event, we'll have the privilege of hearing from a variety of esteemed speakers who will provide invaluable insights into the current state of affairs, highlighting our community's triumphs, acknowledging our challenges, and illuminating a path forward, allowing us to confront the challenges that lay ahead with resilience and resolve. The true strength of our community lies not solely in the achievements of a few, but in the collective efforts of many. It is the collaboration between businesses and residents, between organizations and individuals, that forms the foundation upon which our community thrives. I'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsors of this event, the Country Club of Culpeper, INL DJing and Event Productions, UVA Community Credit Union, UVA Health Culpeper Medical Center, and Culpeper Human Services. I extend my deepest gratitude to our presenters, our panelists, and our moderators. We truly appreciate all that you do for our community, and we're grateful for your time, energy, and willingness to share your expertise for this program. And again, I want to thank each and every one of you for being here and for your commitment to the betterment of our community. We hope that today's event will serve as a testament to the boundless potential that lies within our community, and may it inspire us all to continue striving towards a brighter, more prosperous future for Culpeper. So for those of you who do not know, it's National Agriculture Week. Woo! But we all know that Culpeper County has a rich agricultural heritage, and farming and agriculture continue to shape our community and our economy. So our first presenter today will be Mr. Carl Stafford, Senior Extension Agent and Certified Forage and Grassland Professional from the Virginia Cooperative Extension Culpeper. Carl has an impressive almost 40-year career as our local county agent and continues to work with farmers to solve problems using research-based facts. So let's have a warm welcome to Carl Stafford.
So I thought of my predecessor as I came this morning, Roy Heltzel. Many of you may not have met him. Gene Payne worked with him for a long time. And if you go back 100 years, there's only been 4 county agents, and I've got near half the time, and that's kind of unusual. I've enjoyed the work, and I hope I've done the right thing staying this long. We'll see. My wife and I hope to do some other things in a time away from extension. We're mighty happy that you've welcomed us to this community, and we've raised our children here. We bought our first house. Guess what I paid for it on West Street in 1985. So a $21,000 salary paid for a $78,000 house. So that's the connection. And today, maybe that relationship's the same. So let's see. We'll advance. So we're happy to have had a good meal. And agriculture is the source of that food. Not all of it comes from within our borders. We have to appreciate that. We've got a real strong transportation sector in this country. And Culpeper is a huge beneficiary of transportation, and location matters. And we're in a box surrounded by interstates. And the roads come out of this town like wagon wheel spokes. We've now got air transportation, and I'm thinking back to the railroad days and beyond. And so farmers came to this community because of transportation, Jeff. They had a railroad, and so agriculture produces heavy commodities. And so dairy is one of the first things I think of. So they skimmed the cream because that reduced the weight, and the most of the value was in that fat, that butter fat. And so they'd ship cream and then do something with the skim milk. And then we had better transportation, and we could then move across the roads with a heavy load. And so those were farm-to-market roads that were built, federal investments made, and improvements kept up. And I've started with some logos there, and I like to feature that tractor with the school in the background. So that tractor represents the at-risk part of agriculture in this community. So they're up and down the roads, they're occupying land, they're dealing with prices and expenses that are challenging, and they've had some really good years in crops, and that's upside down now. So they're still invested in, and they're going to continue, and then maybe they'll average out with a profit, but that big tractor moves up and down the road at some risk to itself and its operator, and we have rude gestures and all kinds of signs, and people tell me they just don't look and they just keep on their side of the road and move along and get where they need to go, and they do it at night and on Sundays. And somebody drove a combine right through the town of Culpeper, but they did it at a strategic time when they could make it through. Extension has been foresighted. Leadership tells me I can do things, and Dave Dewar, the county, has been foresighted in obtaining that building that we now occupy now for a year. And so it's a public-private partnership. I've never been involved in that before. Don't have a track record on it, just building it as we go. So the path forward is a little crooked, but we're getting straighter all the time. So I just can't help but compliment local government, state and federal government for investing in that public-private partnership. And the philanthropic funds that have gone there have come from New York City. They've come from local philanthropic groups. They've come from individuals. Families have some money, Gene, and they're looking for where to spend it. And so I'm not real good at raising money because I don't know how to really ask for it. I just describe what needs to be done and leave it to those. And a couple of brothers, I said, we could have a foundation named after Grandpa, and it could fund interns. It wouldn't take but $100,000 to throw off $5,000 a year to fund interns. And so neither one of those two cousins agreed to that, but I'll have to get back with them and press them a little bit. Trip. Your chamber has leadership in it that included agriculture. And it goes back to Ted Gore and Jack Inskip, who's with us still today, and the good business-like operations that took place and decisions that were made, and that includes us. So we are in business. We are looking at the bottom line. And this Graze 300 program, that's a statewide branded program in extension, is focused on the bottom line. So why more grazing? Because when cows have their head down, or sheep or horses, they're working for you, the owner, Frank. They're working for the farm and the farmer. And when we harvest and we deliver and we store and feed them with machinery, it is an efficient move, but I can compete as a small cattle producer with the big cattle producers. We're talking 5,000 acres of land, 1,000 cows. But when they're feeding hay and I'm grazing, I can compete with them. So it's the only advantage small producers have, is to keep those livestock working and their head down. And if you like beef, please have beef, but you don't have to wait for Memorial Day for prices to be higher. They're higher now. Cull cows, we would call them hamburger cows, are selling for over $1 a pound. And in fact, we're looking at $120, $130 on market cows. They're not cull cows. We need to spin that as a market cow. And so hamburger generally, but a $10 steak is coming out of an older animal as well. That premium steak would be from a young beef animal that's in the feedlot. And so what's driving cattle prices? It's numbers. And you've read about a fire in Texas that hadn't helped the cattle prices come down. It's probably only kept them up. So mama cows were on those dry pastures in Texas, and many of them perished or were injured by fire, and we can not always control fire. The crops, as the dairy farmers left dairying, and there's no more, but they founded this community. And my family at Midland were dairy farmers. And they also were involved in poultry. So we were part of starting this integrated poultry industry that's now centered in the valley. And if you look around, there's some old poultry houses out near Mountain Run Lake. There's some old ones down along 15. But those poultry, integrated poultry industry we're in the valley. And so the crops, we've got one of the highest corn prices in the country because of that poultry industry. So if we can get the corn across the mountain, that's where the high market is. It's the basis in Virginia is, and so basis would be the difference between the price in Chicago and here, and we've got a plus basis in Virginia, and we'll turn that off. I'm narrowing down on half my time, and I'm going to keep to that. But horticulture in Maryland, you noticed my tie, and I wore this tie at a extension gathering, and it was a statement to the belt buckle and the boot crowd down there, and so they're livestock people, right, and PhDs, and so they think that's agriculture, and it certainly is food agriculture, but the disposable income agriculture is the dominant source of farm income in this community and in Orange. And the center of the Orange production is the anchor to a $100 million industry. I'm not telling their business, it's public information. They just sold that big business. And some outfit in Florida bought it, some outfit. So they're now a local farmer. And they've kept the people and the management for some period of time, and that might be standard business trip, but so they're big on employment, they're big on inputs, and they're little teeny tiny 2% margin. 2% margin, so they got to be volume, and that's the story on all these forms of production is the small margins that are expected, and when we have a premium in prices, we can see that margin change, but we've got to bank on a small margin and have large volume. So our food is, generally we've looked at 10 cents on the dollar of our income goes to food, and I think it might be 11 or 12%, I think I put it down. And yet many people in parts of the world might pay 20%, 30% of their disposable income. And we're fortunate to have a meal like we had today at an affordable price. It's higher than it was. We might be grumpy about that, but we still can go and get it about any time we need it. Okay, Sheriff, welcome. And you know, he's an approachable fella, and I like that. And he doesn't have to pull me over to be approached either. You can bet on eggs going up, and why? Because there's a high pathogenic avian influenza that's carried by the wild birds, and when they migrate up and down the flyways in the United States, they leave behind the organism, and it's the cage layers. And so if you want to pay, I don't know, more than 20 cents an egg, whatever it is, for an egg, the way you get those 20-cent eggs is through these battery houses that have lots of birds in them. Now, if you want to pay 50 cents an egg, then you can use the cage-free and organic and local and pastured, but the way we get the eggs that you will pay for at the price you're willing to pay is through these intensive operations. So you get to choose, you get to vote with your money, and we can expect egg prices to go up because those layer hens end up being older than a broiler will go to Kentucky Fried Chicken by the time they're at least 6-7 weeks old. The layer hen will stay around for maybe a year. So the older birds have more exposure and trouble with avian influenza. So in Culpeper, we've got less farm land, but more farms, almost 200 more farms. And so we're dividing those big tracts into smaller ones. People are investing their money. They're coming here to live. They're bringing families. They're from the military. They're retiring here, and so that interest and investment in our land is really key to keeping it. Because a neighbor of mine, retired colonel, I'm kind of down there defending this piece of land from the locals that want to hunt it, and now that the colonel's on the other end of it, we've kind of got that place locked up. So he's invested for the long run, and I think he's an example of what people want to do with their money and where they want to live and why they want to be there. He's not buying it to develop. Water might be the most important subject. We've got a lot of water in this state and in this community. Think about the difference between us and Orange. They're pumping out of the Rapidan, and when they need it the most, the Rapidan's giving them the least, so they need some reservoirs or something. And this town has drilled wells, and they've tied these wells together with the big supply coming out of these lakes, and we saw that lake really low, but that infers that it was an awful, terrible, no good, very bad drought, and it was a bad drought. But what what was the draw? Was it a record draw? It was. More people than ever want that water and are using that water. So the town has done a great job in managing water and securing water that's good and clean. In fact, the best water in the Rappahannock River watershed is right here because nobody's above us. So Fredericksburg has the opportunity to draw water out of the river if they want to. They've got a big reservoir, but we're not drawing it from anybody else. The outfall is not coming in above us. So I'm near done. I think that might be it. That's it. So, Amy, I'm a few minutes under. Thank you for letting me. Agriculture's at the top of the list, but I asked to be moved up because I had another appointment, but that appointment was changed, and so I stole somebody else's seat. So thank you for including me.
Thank you so much, Carl. As we transition our focus from agriculture to matters of public safety, it is my honor to introduce our next esteemed presenter. With an unwavering commitment to safeguarding our communities and upholding the principles of justice, I am pleased to introduce Police Chief Chris Settle from the Culpeper Town Police Department. Chris Settle has been with the police department for 27 years and was appointed Chief of Police in February of 2023. Chief Settle is a lifelong resident of Culpeper and holds a bachelor's degree from Radford University and a master's degree from University of Virginia. Chief Settle has volunteered with many organizations, such as being a board member for SAFE, the Culpeper Midday Lions Club, Culpeper Football Association, past president and coach, and he has achieved his highest honor of being named an assistant T-ball coach on his son Harrison's T-ball team. So please join me in welcoming Chief Settle.
Is this thing queued up for me? Yes. All right. So first of all, I want to thank everybody for being here today, and thanks to the Chamber for hosting everybody and selecting me to give this presentation. I'm not sure why I'm so deserving, but thank you. I want to thank all of our stakeholders. There's so many to name here today that we work with daily. I'll forget somebody if I try to name everybody here. But I am very nervous because I have the mayor and 2 council members staring at me right in the front row. Thank you guys for being here. So my Major Nick White told me, I said, you need to lighten them up with a joke when you start. And I didn't have a joke until the sheriff walked in, so I will tell you. Me and Nick are still finding that we're still managing Tim's calendar, so it's kind of weird how we get paid to do that. So, no. You can Facebook about me later. So again, I'm Chief Chris Settle with the Culpeper Police Department. I was appointed back in February of 2023 after the long, outstanding career of Police Chief Chris Jenkins. Again, that's our values there: integrity, service, commitment, community. We stand by those values, and we kind of embed that into all members of our agency. And our mission is the Culpeper Police Department is committed to public safety for all those who live, work, and play in Culpeper. So we try to have a mission statement for all of our people to encompass everyone in our agency and encompasses all the citizens that live, work, and play in Culpeper, so, and their values. So about the Culpeper Police Department, that's a really small writing, so I'm going to kind of go over it very briefly. Just a brief history of the police department. For those that for those of you can read, don't answer. But for those who can't read, answer. Anybody tell me who the first police chief in Culpeper was? Without cheating. Roy Jameson. Roy Jameson. When was the police department formed? Anybody? Anybody can guess? I got a nice prize for him. I got a coin. The police department was formed in 1956 by Roy Jameson. Roy Jameson was named the first police chief in Culpeper in 1956. So almost 70 years. I think the mayor was on council then too, wasn't you? Back then? We currently have 47 police officers that we're authorized, sworn by, and we have 8 professional staff as well that provides a lot of support for us day and night. We have operations division and support division. Major Nick White, back in the room there on the left, he is their deputy chief, major, and he kind of oversees all the operations of the whole entire agency. Captain Terrell's also back there as well. He's an operations commander, and he kind of handles patrol and anything. All the police cars you see riding around day and night, he manages them very well, and so Andrew Terrell's there in the back as well. Our support manager, Stacey Nicholson, who is not here today, she provides all of our support for fiscal management. She's our accreditation manager. She oversees our records department, so Stacey wears a lot of hats as well. So when you come to the police department and ask for FOIAs or you ask for any documents or anything like that, accident reports, trip accident reports, Stacey will help you out with that. And also, we're very proud of our CALEA, the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies. We've been advanced accredited since 2008. We're very proud of that. And I'll tell you what that embodies is the police department has to comply with 481 standards of best practices, and we are evaluated every year on those 481 standards. And we're very proud of that. And I will tell you that less than 2% of all law enforcement agencies in the country are advanced CALEA accredited. So it is a testament to the men and women of the Culpeper Police Department that support us and make sure that we are stay within best practices that's are nationally established. So we're very proud of that. I'm checking my time too because I was giving strict orders. I know we got a lot of all-star group behind me. I'm the warm-up act to April and her crew, so I recognize that. So our command staff, obviously, we talked about Major White, Captain Terrell. And we have our lieutenants there. We have one lieutenant here today, is Lieutenant Brittany Jenkins. She's back there as well. She's one of our patrol lieutenants, and she does a lot of different things for us as well. She's our peer support coordinator. She's also the handler of Gracie, which is probably our most famous employee of the agency, our support dog. And she also is their co-responder coordinator. So she does wears a lot of hats. In agencies our size, we do wear a lot of hats. Community policing engagement. As we all know, the Culpeper Police Department and the Sheriff's Office as well now, we all believe in community policing engagement. As you guys see us out and about at pretty much every event there's in Culpeper, we try to engage the community. We know, we understand, and we was kind of embedded into me early in my career that if you didn't have a relationship with the community, you weren't going to have relationships and you weren't going to be successful. And we kind of embodied that as a philosophy of the police department and really took that true to heart to make sure that all of our agency personnel buy in. And we actually have a policy that says community policing is a directive for all members of the Culpeper Police Department, not just our community policing unit, not just the chief, not just the major. It is everybody's responsibility to be involved in the community. So we think that's very important for us. And you see there's some pictures up here that shows a lot of community policing engagement and some more there. As well, we do such things with Coffee with a Cop. We have one coming up. We'll be posting that as well. Last year, we started neighborhood walks, and the mayor always joins us. I mean, some other council members join us. We pick a different neighborhood. One evening, we do a walk throughout the community, and just to knock on doors and meet people, and a lot of citizens come out and walk with us in their respective neighborhoods, and we share a lot of ideas, and we engage and listen to some of their problems and issues and concerns, and make sure we address those. So we'll be starting those back up. We always do them the first Thursday of the month. So if you live in Southwest Street or Blue Ridge Avenue area, that's gonna be our first one in April. I think it's first Thursday in April, so come out and join us. I hear one's gonna join us already, so we're gonna be doing that, and we'll be posting that as well. So we started that last summer as well, but we do so many events. Last year we did a police department open house. We invite the community to come in, see all of our tools, methods, means, and like our drones, our SWAT team gear, our agency, a tour of the agency, property and evidence, and all our cars and our motorcycles. So we are planning on doing that again, and I don't know the date on top of my head. I think it's May 31st. I think it's a Friday evening. So we'll do that as well. So we welcome all you guys to come out and check us out and check out all the equipment that we have and all of our people, the most important part, that we'll have a lot of our officers and detectives there talking and engaging the community as you walk through the building. It'll be a true open house. I even got a picture of the sheriff still in his blue uniform right there. We forgot to edit that out. I'm glad he walked in. We also, last year as well, part of our community engagement programs, we talked about one of our officers. This is one of his ideas, one of our master police officers. We did our trading cards, and for those that have been around for a while, we did trading cards about 20-some years ago. We did 2 sets of them, and they were such a big hit. And this officer was here 20-some years ago. He said, "Why don't we do the trading cards again?" I said, "Great, let's do them." And a lot of our younger officers were like, "Nah, the kids don't do trading cards anymore. They do digital cards, and they do all kinds of stuff on their apps. They're going to do trading cards." So we said, "Well, you know what? We're going to do it." So we all did the pictures. We all got sponsors. A lot of businesses. Thank you to all the businesses. A lot of them chamber businesses who sponsored the cards. And I will tell you, it was a huge hit. We had kids stopping us in the streets. We would think something was stopped. We would think something was wrong. And they were stopping us for cars. That's true. I got stopped in a couple of streets for kids stopping. So they would see a police car, and they would stop in the streets. So Captain Terrell kind of hit up the program, and we had 6 kids who collected all the cards in the time frame, right? So we brought them in. We brought them into the agency, and they got some prizes that were donated by local businesses, some game systems and stuff like that. So we are looking to do another push, another drive this summer for those, but they were very, very popular. And it's just a great way for our youth to engage our officers to engage our youth, and build those relationships. And it was a big hit. So we got some points from a lot of our younger officers on that. The old guard won some points that day for those cards. Also, National Night Out. It's always the first Tuesday in August. It's probably one of our biggest nights of the year. I forgot the date, but it's the first Tuesday in August. We'll have several neighborhoods participating in that. We have pretty much all hands on deck with the fire department. I know Junior Perryman's here. All his fire stations from the Fire Rescue Association comes out, and it's a great way to engage the community. I know all the council comes out to all the different neighborhoods, and we're also working with the sheriff's office to maybe do something joint as well for National Night Out. We just talked about that yesterday. And so stay tuned for that as well. Again, part of the community outreach and engagement. So it's very important to us. That's why I put it up front, first and foremost, because we truly do believe in that and building those relationships. Again, we do our joint neighborhood watch meetings, and part of that we do our Amazing Citizen Award recipients there. And that's the Durs. I think Dur, he's one of our recipients back there. He's back on the right. His picture's up here. So him and Joanne was one of our recipients for all the amazing work they do. Of course, Chris Jenkins, Perry Smiley, R.E. Dean, and Charles Jameson got it last year in 2023. So what a great group of citizens who are very much deserving. And so that's something we're very proud of as well. So traffic, and I'll put parking in there as well. So kind of get into the nuts and bolts of the police department and what concerns and the state of the police department is. We do traffic enforcement, obviously. Traffic and parking is our #1 complaints. We get more complaints on traffic and parking than anything else. And a lot of times, rightfully so. We have, Culpeper's a growing, beautiful town. And when you have that growth, you have a lot of people and you have a lot of cars. And you have a lot of cars driving down the streets and neighborhoods, and we have a lot of kids playing. So it does create an environment to create some issues. So we do our best working with our citizens, working with our neighborhood watch areas, and to make sure that we do provide proper enforcement of parking and traffic. This time of year, it seems like the traffic complaints and the parking complaints kind of step up for us and rise a lot, because I think the warmer weather and people's right foot get a little heavier when the sun's out and the weather's hot. Trip. Anyways, so we make sure we do a lot of traffic enforcement this time of year. I know, I'm sorry. So we talk about traffic operations here, and we have some numbers from 2023 roughly. We roughly write about and we're pretty consistent, roughly 1,000 tickets a year. And about last year, we did about 800 warning summonses and about 1,000, a little short, 2,000 summonses. So I don't want to ask anybody, raise their hand if you're one of those 2,000. And we write about almost 1,000 parking tickets a year as well in 2023. So they stay pretty consistent across the board. Areas with traffic crashes, and that's what we're really concerned about, because we do want to reduce fatalities and serious injuries in their traffic crashes. As we all know, town is a very high volume traffic town. We have a lot of traffic moving through. We do traffic numbers on main streets, and you'd be amazed how many cars pass through Main Street on any given day. But One area that we really have a concern with, and I know Town Council and our Public Works and our Town Manager, Chris Havley, they are currently working on it and providing a solution, is Knowles Mill Road and James Madison Highway. That's our most prone traffic intersection for crashes, by far, 3 times greater, almost 3 times greater than the next intersection, which is right there, the next light up. So that whole area right there. So the town is working on some solutions for that. They do recognize the issue, and they got some VDOT numbers, and Jim Hoy and Chris Havley, and they're very smart guys, and they're working on it with VDOT and to provide some solutions. So stay tuned to that because they are coming. So, but that is obviously our highest intersection for crashes. Calls of service. So we talk about calls of service. Roughly, we get about, I think it's 14, yeah. Roughly, we get actually 46,000 calls of service a year. And so 2023, we roughly got about 46,000 calls of service. Now, there are calls of service when you guys call about an issue in your community. There are also self-initiated calls that the officers generate, like traffic stops and stuff like that, and extra patrols and directed patrols. Also, some administrative tasks are built in there as well. But actually, calls of service that actually citizens call in, it's about 14,000. That we get 14,000 calls. And we track those through our communications center, which I know they're represented here today as well. I know, Jenny's here maybe as well. No? And Blake, I know Blake Dodson's is here as well, representing our communications center. So we get about 14,000 calls of service a year, which is a lot for Culpeper and the size of Culpeper. So we do a pretty good job of managing that. As you see, over the track of since 2014, it's kind of been a gradual increase of those calls to service history. As we've seen, last year was a little bit high. 2022 was a little bit higher than 2023, but still kind of trending up. So as Culpeper is a growing, beautiful little town, the calls of service do grow with it at some point. Crime. So I know everyone wants to talk about crime. We'd be remiss if we didn't talk about crime in Culpeper. The good news is most crime is down. But the growth, the calls of service, the crime's down, or violent crime's down. We do see some trends that are spiking, and we'll talk about some of those later. But I will talk about burglaries. So in 2023, our burglaries dramatically increased. I can't see that, but it was like they almost doubled in the numbers. And a lot of those were, we had a lot of burglaries last year for our vape shops and our tobacco stores. We got a lot of different burglars, and some got hit multiple times. And that's a region-wide, statewide, national trend. Vape stores, tobacco stores, those states that have cannabis distributions, you see a lot of trends there as well for break-ins in those type of businesses and establishments. And motor vehicle thefts, that's one of the ones we saw increase on. And that, again, that is not only a local trend, that is a statewide trend, and that is a national trend, car thefts. And we'll talk about one of those trends, why car thefts are going up in a second. We have some basic property summary, how much money we recover, how much money we report stolen. We get about almost $2 million a year reports stolen throughout the town. 2022 was a high year because we had 2 businesses that had really high cases where they had a lot of money taken from their businesses, but it kind of went back down to 2023, back to normal numbers. The number that really alarms me, and we'll talk about it later, but I hit on it now since we're at the bottom, is the arrests. Our adult arrests are down, which is great. Like I said, with all this crime trends are going down, that's great. The trend that we're seeing going up is juvenile arrest, and juvenile crime is going up, which is somewhat alarming. Last year, and the numbers are fuzzy, yeah, we doubled. We had 27 arrests in 2022, and we had 46 juvenile arrests in 2023, so almost doubled in juvenile arrest. We'll talk about more of that in a second. And I'm open to any questions anytime, just raise your hand. So how do we fight these trends? How do we fight crime? How do we provide officers the tools on the street to find the perpetrators of these crimes? And a lot of it is, one, we'll talk about it later too, is finding good people and finding good police officers who know what to do and who are smart and who can problem solve and solve some of these crimes, and detectives with proper training. But another multiplier that we found out is through technology. Technology is a great multiplier to provide services to our community through these trends. And I'll be remiss to say that our town government, the manager and the council has been very supportive of technology and providing us the tools that we need to provide services to our citizens and fight crime. And some of those things is about 6 years ago, we started a drone program. I know the sheriff was part of that program when he was with the town. We kind of pushed forward, Chief Jenkins pushed forward that program. We asked council money for operating funds to start a drone program. And I tell you, we use them, and I was just talking to Councilmember Short this morning. We use them, if not daily, we use them weekly, regularly. They're such an officer safety tool. We had a call with the county the other night. We assisted the county on a call. They had a barricaded person in their car and thought he had a weapon. We can fly the drone right up to the window inside the car and see those weapons, if they had any weapons, before the deputies approach the car. So these drones are really small. They fly through FPV, first-person view, and you can fly it under a table, under a chair. You can fly it in any tight spaces, and it also has night vision as well, so you can see at night. So we assisted the county on one of those calls the other night. We have 10 different aircraft, and those 10 different aircraft do different things. So we have the small drones for interior. We have bigger drones for bigger missions. We can fly up to 400 feet by law, by FAA standards. We do fly under a COA, what they call a COA. It's a Certificate of Authorization through the FAA. So it's all regulated by the FAA. It's all regulated by state code, and obviously it's all regulated by department policy. So when we can fly these things, so because we certainly want guardrails on this technology to make sure that there's trust with our community, but we also want to make sure we use them to get bad guys off the street. So, and gals too. There's gals, bad guys. Another piece of technology that we have is our flocks, our flock automated license plate readers, and this is pretty new technology for us. And you may have heard about flocks or automated license plate readers. And I will tell you, before everybody gets freaked out by license plate reading and cameras, they've been around about 30 years. License plate reading's been around about 30 years. Law enforcement's been using it about 30 years. However, technology has advanced. We were able to hone in on some of these license plate reading and use them to really get the worst of the worst off the streets. And there's example after example after example. I read one this morning out of Fairfax City. A person sexually assaulted a child, and he was wanted for child pornography charges. They've been looking for him forever. Fairfax City catches him because he goes through a flock. I think yesterday, went through a flock in Fairfax County, and they're able to get him off the streets last night. They've been looking for him for a while. That's the type of stuff. We've seen that here locally, where we were able to take some felons off the streets, and we put all of our felons into the system. If they have a car registered to them, or we have information that a car is being driven by that felon, and we put that information in that system. When it goes to a flock, it alerts our officers within seconds on their cell phones, on their MBTs, through email. We just got one sitting here a while ago. We had a stolen car come through a while ago. I got on my phone just before I came up here. So if our officers will respond, try to locate that car, and again, it's within seconds. And we've had a lot of success. I know one of our cases, an example, one of our flocks, we had a couple doing an organized retail theft ring throughout the whole East Coast, all the way from New Jersey, Delaware, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina. They were going to hitting Targets and Walmarts, organized retail theft, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the feds actually picked up a case, which is really rare for feds to do a retail organized theft case. Couldn't find them. They actually lived out of Baltimore. So we knew what vehicle they drove, but didn't know who they were. We knew the partial tag, and we knew the vehicle description. We put that into the flock. It hit our flock coming into town. So our patrol officers, this is how good of officers we have. Our patrol officers knew that car was coming in. One went to Target, one went to Walmart, and they found him at Target coming out with the goods. We end up getting thank you. We end up getting a pursuit with them. The county actually picked up pursuit for us. Thank you, county. Out on 29, and they got into a crash out on 29. No major injuries, and we served a gazillion warrants on them from all over the East Coast, and they're now behind bars waiting trial. And I think it's going to be a federal case for organized retail theft, which is really rare, but it's a pretty big case. So that's because of our flocks. We had another example, and I'll move on because this is great technology. We had Luray, Front Royal had a missing person bulletin they put out for Alzheimer's, and I ain't talked about Alzheimer's yet. An Alzheimer's patient has left his home driving, really endangered. They were looking for him. They sent a bulletin out. Our crime analyst took it upon herself to search the tag into our flock system and found out that this car was going through the same flock camera in Fairfax City every day, repeatedly on the same camera. So her being from up there, she knows a bunch of hotels in that little area up there. So she called Fairfax City and said, hey, we get this car, this missing person from Front Royal that's hitting flock up in Fairfax. Can you go check these hotels around there for Front Royal? Front Royal didn't even know we were doing this. And within minutes, they called us back and says, yeah, the cars, we found the person who's in the hotel right there beside the flock cameras. So we were able to locate the Alzheimer's patient within a couple minutes because based on flock. So, and there's tons of examples. We don't have one yet of missing abducted children. If a child gets abducted and we have a suspect vehicle description or a suspect, we can put that information into the flock. And not only it hits our flocks, but we share our information with all the other flock agencies throughout the country. So if that car goes to their flocks, it will hit. And we can help find those abducted kids and missing children more quickly. So there's been a lot of success stories on abducted children and missing children, on finding them pretty quickly based only on flock. So Alexandria just had a case where a convicted murderer who escaped prison in Wisconsin, I believe, came through the Alexandria flock in Alexandria, Virginia. They were able to catch him within a couple minutes going through a flock in Alexandria. And this is a murderer who escaped prison in Wisconsin, I believe. So a lot of success stories. And how it culminates we're excited about a new thing that we're going to do. We're actually going to launch it within the next couple of weeks. We're still kind of working out the bugs. It's a real-time crime and information center. So within our police department, we designated a small area for our crime analysts to work out of. And it's a picture here in a minute I'll show you. But roughly, it's a small area, and it's just a source where all of our technology comes into one given area. And one person interprets all that data and all the resources at her fingertips, and she has a communications console with the officers there and provides information to officers on calls in real time. So if we have a robbery or burglary or anything like that and she's working, she can boot up that real-time crime center. If we have a drone in the air, we can get live feedback into the center. She can see that. Our flock systems, she can see that in real time. We have town-wide cameras, pan, tilt, zoom cameras throughout the town. She has access to all of that on the monitors, so you can see the picture. And she's looking at that, interpreting all that information, all that data, and giving it to officers in real time. Now the way we operate is all that information, the officer doesn't have it at his fingertips when he's on that call. He has to come back to the office and then pull up all the information after they get back. Now we're providing all that information and data in real time to the officers on the street. So it is kind of the new buzz. It's kind of the new thing in law enforcement right now. It's real-time crime centers. And we've kind of bought onto it, and we hopefully to have some successes with our real-time information center. And it's a great officer safety tool as well, because it gets that information to the officer in real time without the officer having to worry about looking it up themselves when they're on the call. And we have a picture there of the flock. If you can see it, the flock there is there in the middle. That's what a flock camera looks like. They're strategically placed throughout the town. You can go on a scavenger hunt and look for them if you want to. I will tell you, the first one we put up, and this was a town manager's idea, which is a great idea, and Jim Hoy, our public works director's idea, was the first one we ever put up was at Rockwater Park. Because Rockwater Park was a concern for us because we have any given day, because of the splash pad up there that the Wellness Foundation helped put up, we have hundreds of kids up there. And a lot of our parents, sometimes they drop them off up there, and they drop them off for the day, and let them enjoy the park, let them enjoy the splash pad, or there's a lot of kids up there, so we put one of those up there because we have so many kids up there, and we want to make sure that anything happens to one of those kids, we at least had a tag in the car, the picture of the car if something happens. So that was our first flock. So publicly, you go up when you leave here, go up Rockwater Park, on the left. When you go up the hill, you'll see that right there. So I will tell you that one. I won't tell you the rest of them. So we'll talk about threats, kind of some threats facing the Culpeper Police Department and law enforcement in general, and I think the sheriff will probably agree on this. He better. And I guess our number one threat that's facing us in the police department right now is recruitment and retention of our police officers. As we know, and I think there's a panel talking about this here later, and I don't want to steal their thunder, but within law enforcement, we do see local, state, and nationally a trend of reduced number of applications coming into law enforcement, and there's varying different reasons for that. We can all guess. But the workforce today, and I know there's experts in the room, so if I'm mistaken, y'all correct me later in the panel, but there's the workforce today are looking for different things than traditionally what they look for to come into law enforcement. Compensation's huge, insurance is huge, retirement's huge, but they're looking for more than that. They're looking for, do you have a peer support program? Do you have a mentorship program? Do you have support for us when we come in? Do you have a pathway to promotion? Do you have a pathway to specialized positions? I want to be a detective. The first officer, the first day on the job, he wants to be a detective. The old days, we tell them, hey, go work the patrol for 5 years and you can put in for it. You can't do that anymore. You got to give them a pathway. You got to say, hey, do A, B, and C, do X, Y, and Z. That's your pathway to be a detective. So it's different. It's different thinking for me too, because I'm a little old school myself. So, but it's that rebranding and different marketing strategies. So, but I would say that is our number one. Is getting good police officers on the street, and we've done a pretty good job with the police department. As we stand here today, we have 2 openings, and that's pretty good for an agency our size. But there's a lot of police departments and sheriff's offices out there really struggling. They've eliminated, like Fairfax County, I know, eliminated an entire shift, their mid-shift, and put them on because of they're hundreds of short. State police, hundreds short. I mean, well into the hundreds, and they're trying to fill those ranks as soon as they can. So, luckily, we have a good community. We have good government. We have good leaders here that we're able to retain a lot of our employees, but something we're always working on. Number 2, law enforcement response to subjects in mental health crisis. As we all know, and I know you're going to hear about this later as well, I know there's heavy hitters on that subject as well. I don't want to steal their thunder, but there's a recent study came out, about 80% of our calls that we go when there's someone in crisis. There's someone in mental health crisis. There's a victim of a domestic violence. Or if we get a DOA, there's a family member there that's in crisis. Or if we have a child sexual assault case, there's a parent there or someone there in crisis. And our officers, they've answered the call. They've answered the call in these calls. And as much support we can get on these persons in crisis from trained mental health professionals, that'd be great. And I know you'll be hearing some of this later. But it is a issue. It is an epidemic, and we don't want to talk about epidemics. The mental health crisis, and I'm sure a lot of you agree in the room, it is a true epidemic. And law enforcement, we're on the front lines of it. We're at war with it. And after 5 o'clock, and as the old chief used to say, after 5 o'clock, when everybody goes home, we're the only ones you can call, and we're the only ones coming. We're the only ones coming. And our police officers, we do mental health training, but we're not mental health professionals. And some of the situations we're put into, it is alarming. And we're trained to handle crimes and handle criminals. We're not really built to handle mental health, but we do our best. But again, when we show up, it provides an automatic stigma sometimes, an automatic trigger for those in crisis when you see law enforcement show up rather than a mental health professional show up. So that leads to increased numbers of use of force. And we really don't want to be in that business. We don't want to use force on a person in mental health crisis of not committing a crime. Unfortunately, it happens, and it shouldn't. Unfortunately, we shouldn't be handcuffing persons in mental health crisis in the back of police cars and taking them to an evaluation or taking them to a TDO facility somewhere 4 hours away. But that's just the state we're in. Persons in mental health crisis shouldn't be handcuffed, thrown in the back of a cage of a police car if they're not committing a crime. And that's a big thing for me. It shouldn't happen. So again, if I had the magic answers to it, I'll tell you. I'm not going to keep any secrets on this. But as you might hear some later, and what we found is success in our agency and the other agencies is our embedded co-response program. When we partnered with Encompass, they have provided us some co-responders, and when truly embedded, they are a proven evidence-based model that has success. We have seen it. We have seen internally. We have seen those calls where we have data that shows that we've seen calls where an officer was, if an officer was by himself handling someone in a mental health crisis, we're in the cover your, I can't say A, but we're in the cover your butt mentality. We're going to ECO that person 9 times out of 10 just to make sure that, because the liability falls back on us. If we release them and something happens to that person, the liability falls back on us. So we will ECO that person. If we have a mental health professional there to provide us some guidance and provide some follow-up and provide some mitigation, de-escalation strategies, we don't have to put that person in handcuffs and take them to evaluation. That mental health professional is providing, I say, curbside mental health crisis. And it might be some of the only services that person will ever get because they won't follow up on the crisis. So we have seen a proven model for a true embedded co-response program. So I would say that that's certainly us responding to those mental health crises is a huge issue. I won't take too much more time. I'm getting down to the end. I know I'm looking at my clock. Juvenile crime as well, as we talked about before, and the only thing I'll say about that, it is a true community effort. We can only enforce juvenile crime. We can outreach juvenile crime, but there's many stakeholders in this room. I know I'm looking at Lisa Peacock and looking at a few others that I know this is an issue for everybody. And it will take a lot of people coming to the table to curb juvenile crime. And the school system's a part of that, and Compass is a part of that, and I see a lot of stakeholders will be a part of that. So, but making sure we're keeping those numbers low. Substance abuse and trafficking as well, always an issue. We're probably dealing with, if not every other day, weekly overdoses. We're still seeing some overdose deaths in here in town and in the county. We're still using Narcan or Naloxone regularly. Our officers are using Naloxone if not daily, every other day for somebody at least in town. Now, I'm not sure about the county, but I know they're using it quite a bit too. So, but education, prevention, enforcement. Obviously, we got the enforcement arm. We got some of the education prevention arm. But again, that's a multi-stakeholder, multi-engagement process that we have to tackle locally, statewide, and nationally to curb some of the substance abuse. And fentanyl pills is still it. So. More people are overdosing on fentanyl pills, and we're really seeing a constant. It's really not diminishing. The numbers may be diminished a little bit because people are not as reporting because naloxone now is more readily available to families, so they're using naloxone themselves. So the numbers may be dipping a little bit, but that may be because inaccurate reporting because we're just not getting those numbers of family members using Narcan themselves. And I will tell you our fifth probably threat, and I know Lieutenant Jenkins is here, and she kind of heads this up for us, is officer wellness. As we talk about all these issues and mental health and all these different things and recruitment, retention, working extra shifts, not necessarily for us, but law enforcement in general, officer wellness is huge. The workforce is different. And our younger officers have different needs than when I came through as a police officer in the late 90s. And providing those officers mental health wellness, physical wellness is huge for us, and providing resources and support for them. So last year we initiated all of our officers and all of our employees have to go to do a mental health check with a licensed professional, a licensed counselor. So we got great feedback from. I thought they were going to hang me up on a flagpole and send them to a counselor, but we got great feedback from that. And actually, we had 60%, and Brittany may correct me on this, 60 or 70% of our employees made follow-up visits with those counselors, which was amazing. That's what we want to see. And so we have a rest and relaxation room in the police department, so officers can debrief themselves. If they go on a bad call, they can come in and chill out. Or if they had daycare issues that day, they work a night shift, they didn't get much sleep, they can go in there and rest, as long as we have this coverage on the street. So it's those different ideas that the police department has embodied that take care of officer wellness. But it is a big topic, again, locally, statewide, and nationally. So, other than that, I do have a picture of what a true embedded co-response program looks like, and that's kind of some of our former co-responders there interacting with the public out in the community. And the collateral benefit of that, you see one picture where our co-respondent with one of our officers, and triggering that and piggybacking on the officer wellness part, the collateral benefit of an embedded co-responder program is officer wellness, because that mental health professional is riding in that car with that officer and providing wellness, having those conversations, talking about their kids, talking about their issues at home, talking about finances, talking about stresses of life, talking about work. So that's why I put that picture with one of the co-respondents with one of our officers there, because there was really of a bond there that was established. So other than that, I'm the warm-up act. I understand that, so I'll make way. But that's my contact information there. So please write it down, my email address. If you have any questions, I'll be more than glad to answer them.
I have several questions. First of all, about the juvenile crime, the number one intervention there should be the parents. Should be on top of their kids at all times and see this happening, and the child expresses some concern or you see anxiety, it should be identified. I think your anxiety is a little too much on having to handcuff mental health patients. I worked in an extremely large mental health institution, one of the largest in the country, and these people are dangerous many, many, many times. They have to be handcuffed. Now, it's sorrowful that they have to go 4 hours. I should understand that. You should not feel any way that you were doing something bad by handcuffing these people, because you know they flip on a dime. Don't even understand, I don't care what it was.
I'll just make a point on that. About 80 to 90%, and maybe Ryan or somebody will have some answers on that. 80 to 90% of our people that we ECO, that we put in handcuffs, don't get TDO, don't meet those eligibility requirements. So a lot of times we're not dealing with the worst of the worst. We're dealing with people who need to be evaluated. So yes, I'd agree. Those people in those institutions and are hospitalized, for certainly they're dangerous. They need to be restrained. A lot of our people that we deal with are the kind of marginal, like 80, 90% that don't get TDO'd. And yeah, they're not those people that you're speaking of in those institutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. That was very informational. As we continue to delve into the crucial topics affecting the vitality of our community, it is my pleasure to introduce the next segment of our program, which is a panel presentation on health and wellness. Our panelists represent a diverse array of experience, each bringing unique insights and perspectives to the discussion. We'd like to invite our panelists to come forward and take a seat at the table as I introduce our panel moderator. Andy Johnson, Director of Programs at the Path Foundation. Andy has a bachelor's degree in psychology and a master's degree in counseling psychology from West Virginia University. Andy has over 25 years of experience in the health and human service realm, to include direct service, program development, mental health, youth volunteerism, nonprofit management, and grant making. Andy enjoys hikes with his dogs, gardening, biking, canoeing, and other outdoor activities. And I'll now pass it along to Andy to introduce our panelists.
So yeah, she's passed it on to me to introduce our panelists, but there'll be some audience participation here. So would you prefer that I read boring handwritten introduction materials, or would you prefer that I let them introduce themselves? Just vote, you know. Former, the latter? Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. That's what I thought.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ryan Banks. I am the Senior Director of Encompass Community Supports, formerly Rappahannock-Rapidan. We are your public mental health community service board, and my responsibilities include all of our mental health and substance use programs at the agency.
I didn't read a microphone. Good morning, I'm April Octor. I'm the Population Health Manager for the Rappahannock-Rapidan Health District. Your health department has a lot of functions for you. You may know us because we're out inspecting your restaurants, doing on-site and soil. We also offer some clinics, a WIC program. We have a lot of things to offer locally.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Okay, great. Drop the mic. Good morning, everybody. Donna Staten. I'm the president at Culpeper Medical Center, part of our UVA Health Community Organization, and also our chief operating officer for our multi-hospital system. And I'm a native to Culpeper, so it is wonderful to be here this morning and really be able to talk about some instrumental things I think that are influencing our community, and happy to answer any questions as we start to go a little deeper into some of these themes.
So I don't want to put any pressure on our panel, but I mean, you're competing with drone technology here. This whole warm-up act thing, no, Chief Settle. You set a high bar here, but we're going to do our best. So I think just to get some input from all of you all to begin with, and April, maybe we'll start with you, but I just kind of wanted to get a sense of what, from your perspective, what are some of the sort of the main health wellness challenges that we see, and maybe any strategies that you see that are helping or that could help if we implemented them.
Okay, can you hear me? So I can get started. Public health big picture is what we do to assure the conditions where everyone has the opportunity to be healthy. And so one of the ways we do that is we use a strategic planning tool, and it's called a community health assessment, and we just did that in 2023. We did that with all of our partners, and we look at data because we want to know what's affecting our community and how can we work together to address it. And so what did we find? We found things that we expected to find: heart disease, cancer, and stroke. When you look at RAP, we skew a little older. Our population's aging. We skew a little chubby, so most of us could lose weight, and all of those factors increase your risk for chronic disease. We also found mental health challenges related to our kids. Somewhere between 1 in 4 and 1 in 5 had considered suicide, and we have to think about that and address it. Our injury hospitalizations were higher, opioids. And then I think when we talk about how do we address it, the next thing we do is we're going to hold listening sessions in the community. We want to work with all of our partners to identify strategies to change our environment. I think when you think about healthcare, a lot of people think about going to the doctor, but what affects your health is your environment. And so about 80% of what makes us healthy are things like employment, income, housing, food, transportation, mental health. Do we feel safe at home? Do we feel safe at work? So how do we work together and leverage our resources to address all of that and improve the health of our entire community?
Ryan, you want to jump in there on mental health?
I think April touched a little bit on what we're seeing. We definitely have an increase in reports of mental health challenges for our youth. There's a lot of reasons that we can suspect that is. I think a lot of it is coming out of the pandemic and a lot of the social isolation and related stresses and anxieties with that experience. We also have a large problem with our opiates, as we've heard several people mention. Our services that we have put in place to try to address that have been impactful, and we have seen over the last couple of years a decrease in our overdose deaths, which means that we have been successful in the first part, which is the Narcan naloxone in the community. Which then allows us to have opportunities to intervene with treatment because we're no longer seeing as many fatal overdoses. There is still a problem with use, but we are keeping more people alive, which is a positive, and we will continue to provide treatment. We do have a program that we are going to be launching, which is an overdose response unit, and that overdose response unit will be working with hospitals and first responders to be able to have certified peer recovery specialists respond to individuals who have experienced an overdose soon after to try to engage with them. And these are individuals with lived experience, and so they have a different way of connecting. And we're hoping that that will be a next level and a next step to see an additional trend to reduce that issue in our community.
And Donna, from your perspective?
So I think it's important maybe to talk a little bit about where we've been to kind of set the stage as we think about what our sites are looking towards the future and how we begin to combat some of these issues. So for many of us in the room, you know, we've known Culpeper Medical Center as a local community hospital, 60 years plus in existence, and we've been on an incredible journey for the last couple of years. And in doing so, it really is to position us for long-term success to serve the needs of Culpeper and all of our surrounding communities. I think first and foremost, it's important to share that Culpeper is really now part of a larger UVA health infrastructure. And in doing so, we're part of the community medicine arm of UVA. And so many of us, have great relationships with UVA, whether it be through the university side or on the medical care side, and they're doing some really incredible, impactful work. So we now get to be their partner and their arms and legs out in the communities that we serve. So we're reimagining how that looks. And so with it comes some pretty big headwinds that we have to overcome. I would say in the last 2 years, coming right out of COVID, that I think I still have PTSD from that whole experience. As I know April did, we were almost on the phone together on a daily basis, surviving through that endeavor. But we've gone through some major kind of transformation to align all of our technology. And you've heard about the importance of technology this morning and how it serves as an enabler for the work that we do, and healthcare is no different. When you as patients, show up at your doctor's office, you want to have seamless access to your medical record, regardless of what point of service you go to. So that's really been our key focus to serve as an enabler. So we now, across all of our footprint, we know Donna Staten as Donna Staten, regardless of what site of service she goes to. And we're able to share that information transparently and seamlessly across all sites. That's huge in terms of providing high quality care to our communities. And April mentioned the community health needs assessment, which really sets the stage for a strategic plan. UVA has been steeped in tradition, really focused on the needs of people that travel into Charlottesville. And now, as a community medicine arm, we've embarked on this 10-year strategic plan in partnership with UVA. And that really sets the vision for what do we imagine becoming as we begin to come together as a multi-hospital system that's never been done within the University of Virginia footprint. So this is a nationwide and statewide strategic plan with a goal of being, I'm going to focus on this one, really key imperative, being the best place to work. That's a pretty bold promise, and we'll talk about why that's so important for us as an organization. We've talked about talent and difficulty in recruiting, but we also want to be the preferred provider across the entire Commonwealth of Virginia. So again, really, really lofty goal. So some of the headwinds that we're up against, education and job development. We've heard it. There's a shrinking talent pool. There's increasing demand for talent, and we have to become really, really creative in how we are able to bring new team members into our organization. So how many of you guys have heard that adage that culture eats strategy every day of the week? So, that is no different in healthcare. We have to create a culture where team members want to work, physicians want to practice, and patients want to receive their care because you have choices. So we are taking this challenge head on. We're investing in a ton of professional growth and development of our team members, and many of these familiar faces in the room are our partners in that journey. So we've developed great partnerships with Germana. You're going to hear a little bit more about that this morning. We also are working very much with our school system partners through career partners. The C-Tech program that was instituted a couple of years ago has been instrumental in helping to create some pipeline talent for us in the healthcare system and some of those entry-level positions. We love to be able to get team members in the door because we have a very, very generous tuition reimbursement program. And now I'm very, very excited to share that because of our relationship with UVA, we have a BSN to MSN pathway that is guaranteed admission. So the ability for team members to come in, start their journey with us, and then continue to develop professionally is a really great gift that we can offer our staff. I'll also share that school systems and getting engaged very, very early on is critically important. We sponsor a healthcare day with our local school system. I know we just hosted that a couple weeks back. Incredible participation, lots of engagement. And so we're going to have to get with these students really early because they have choices, and we want to be able to influence that and also offering a lot of shadowing opportunities. When we think about our internal talent, we also want to make sure that we're able to continue to grow our leaders. Healthcare leadership, as April can attest, and Ryan, it's a hard job. It is 24/7, 7 days a week. And so we want to continue to pour into our leaders and how we can continue to grow and develop them. So we're really excited about the inaugural UVA Health Leadership Institute that was just rolled out this past fall, which is a cohort of up-and-coming leaders across the entire UVA Health enterprise that go through a very rigorous curriculum around financial acumen, crucial conversations, how to mentor and grow, staff members, how to provide mental wellness, how to create work-life balance. When you think about being a leader, you have to have all those things in your toolkit to be able to draw from. So this is an 8-month program that we have team members that are participating across the entire footprint of our UVA Health organization. And then we are also looking at how we can continue to partner with local school systems and bring some of those team members in, shadowing opportunities, internships. We talked about the fact that I think, Chief Settle mentioned the fact that team members previously could work 5 years before they thought about being a detective. That was your rite of passage. That doesn't exist in healthcare either. What we used to see is team members would come in, they would have to kind of cut their teeth on a med-surg entry point nursing position in order for they were able to move into a more specialized area like emergency medicine or intensive care. Not today. They are coming right out, fresh baby new nurses, and saying, I want to be an ED nurse, I want to be a labor and delivery nurse, I want to be an ICU nurse, and these are some of the most complex aspects of nursing that we have to accommodate in order to attract that talent. So a very long list of things, certainly, but I think the partnerships in this room that we forged and the continued great work that we're doing and coming together with our school systems, with our higher ed, and then some of the residency programs that we're creating, and LPNs too. I would just add, how do we create coordinated care teams that allow nurses to work at the top of their license and really create that environment where team members want to work. So Andy, I know that was a very long, but you can see I'm very passionate about this, but it's real. Our investment is because we want to be there, no different than police. It's a 24/7. Our lights are always on. We're always able to be there to respond to our patients in need, and our community is growing. So the demand for healthcare services is just going to continue to increase.
Thanks, Donna. So we have a lot of incredible, engaged community members, employers here in the room. So what would you say to them about ways that that they can help support health and wellness efforts in the Culpeper community? And I'll start with you, Ryan.
So my soapbox that I get on very often is that mental health, behavioral health should be viewed and treated the same as physical health. And so I think for employers to recognize that an individual who may be having some sort of behavioral health challenge, and when I say behavioral health, that's mental health or substance use, to look at that the same as if they had a broken leg or diabetes or a cancer diagnosis, and to remove stigma in your workplace to be able to speak freely about challenges, about the supports that they might need to help them be successful in their work environment while they are trying to seek treatment or seek recovery for those diagnoses that they may be experiencing. And this is also understanding that there are no gender, socioeconomic, religious, racial buffers. Everyone is susceptible. Anyone can find themselves in that. It's one event away from someone struggling. It's one injury from someone being addicted to opiates. There are many, many people who never thought that they would end up in the situations that they're in. So really just having an opportunity for the workplace to be welcoming and open and having free conversation without the fear of negative responses or backlash is really important. We have a lot of people who come to treatment because their employers have encouraged them to do so. It is often very hard for people to recognize in themselves that they are struggling. And so people spend a majority of their time at work. You know, a lot of people spend more time at work than they do at home. And so employers may be the first line that recognize that something has changed in someone. And so it's really important to feel comfortable having those conversations. Our agency does provide training. It's gatekeeper training, which allows lay folks, will say any person, feel comfortable to have those introductory conversations that then allows them to engage with the conversation and then help them refer to additional resources for professional treatment and intervention. And so those are things that you could have available in your different respective businesses, that all of your employees would be able to have that training and feel comfortable having those conversations with colleagues.
April, would you add to that?
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. I think I mentioned that our health really is based on where we live, where we work, where we play, and where we pray. And my soapbox is there's a lot of emphasis now placed on individual choices, you know, making good choices about what you eat or if you exercise. And Chief Settle set the stage for me talking about things he does for officers. And I would like all of us to approach that on things we do for all of our employees, but also all of our community. Our choices are based on our environment. If you commute all day and drive home and all you pass is fast food on the way to your house, it's really easy to make that choice to pull into the drive-through. So what I would propose is that all of us, as we think about our own strategic plans and as we think about city and county planning, is consider health in all of our policies.
So April, I couldn't agree with you more. You know, we want to be on the back end of your needs, right? And so when we think about how to prevent you from coming to the hospital, that's the mind shift that we need to all encounter. Mental wellness, work-life balance are things that I think we absolutely, as employers, need to focus on. We need to put that as a priority, one of our cornerstones or North Stars of the work that we're doing. And that means purposeful engagement with our team members and asking them. When we think about access to care in the Culpeper community, I will be the first to admit that we are very underserved. We know that we don't have enough access to primary care. That is an area that we are approaching head on. And really, our number one goal is to keep care local. We are landlocked. So as you can see on our hospital campus, we make things work on a postage stamp. So some things that we are doing to be able to continue to meet the needs of the community, we will be adding a new primary care clinic here in Culpeper this year. It'll be part of our community health organization, which is a little bit different than what many of you know as Commonwealth and Culpeper Family Practice. So I'm very excited about that. We will also be adding 2 new full-time urologists to our complement, and we are investing in a tremendous amount of technology to be able to again keep access to care local. But we only want to be there when you need us. So focusing on prevention, focusing on wellness, I would encourage you, take advantage of screenings. That is the one thing that I think if you can take back as an employer is to look at what those preventative screenings are and really reinforce the importance of those with your team members. We cannot stress that enough. That is opportunity for early detection. We partner very closely with Sharon Clark at Pepperberries every year on our signature Pamper Me Pink event in order to raise awareness about the importance of early detection and screening for breast cancer in both men and women. It's been incredibly impactful. I would say that same level of commitment and interest needs to go into every other form of screening, whether it's getting your colonoscopy, whether it's getting your prostate screening, whether it's lung screening. Those are the things that I would say absolutely look at those and have a campaign with your team members and your staff around the importance of screening and early detection.
Thanks, Donna. And just go ahead and, raise your hand if you've put that colonoscopy off. No. I see a couple. Okay, I really wasn't looking for that, but I'm here with you. We're a team. Ryan, we have a couple more minutes, right? So Ryan, I really wanted to come to the idea of collaboration. I heard it from Amy, I heard it from Carl, and I heard it from Chief Settle. I think it truly is a collaborative community. But how can collaboration, help improve health outcomes, community outcomes?
I think a lot of it is pretty, I don't want to say obvious, but the collaboration brings all aspects of the community together. As April was saying, all of the entities that any one individual might encounter, if all of those places are on the same accord, having the same mission and vision, then you can see really positive outcomes. One of our examples that we had just recently was the warming center at St. Luke's. And the number of partnerships that we had for that successful enterprise that we undertook, which was providing housing for unhoused individuals. We had the County of Culpeper, we had Culpeper Midday Lions Club, we had Knights of Columbus Culpeper, St. Luke's Lutheran Church, Culpeper Presbyterian Church, Culpeper Presbyterian Women, Northern Piedmont Community Foundation, Culpeper Winter Heat Shelter, Culpeper Food Closet, Dolls and Floss Salon, Mom to Mom, and Culpeper Human Services. That shows you that it's across the board, and that was providing a basic need of housing. Those types of efforts can be successful with many other opportunities that help with overall wellness. And just as a note, we are having a thank you event for all of our partners at the Mountain Run Lake Park on April 23rd from 5 to 7 p.m. because we want to make sure that they understand how grateful we are for their partnership, and we hope that this will be a model for future partnerships for other needed resources within our community.
April, would you add a little on that?
Sure. I wanted to take a moment to talk about our community health worker program. And one of the things we did with some of the COVID funding were hire individuals and place them in the community. Some of them are in the free clinic, some of them are at the health department, some of them are at veterans organizations. And we have so many resources, but it's hard to keep track of them all. And for someone entering a healthcare system who maybe doesn't speak the language or is already concerned and stressed for a lot of different reasons, they can help them fill out financial paperwork to get them in at UVA. They can help let them know about services over at Encompass if they need mental health services. They can address them for social determinants. They ask about their housing. Do you have food at home? Do you feel safe at home? Do you have transportation to get to your appointment? And they have changed our patients in a way that's really hard to measure, but I think invaluable. And so one of the things we're doing is try to figure out ways of how to sustain our funding and keep these individuals in our community because they do such a great job. I think the other thing as we think about what we can do collaboratively, I hear a lot of talk about epidemics and whether we're talking about opioids or flu. The way to stop an epidemic is to prevent new cases. That's how they end. And so we have to focus together on prevention and preventing all the things that we're facing. And one of the ways to do that is to start with our kids. And so just a question for the group is what's the #1 killer of kids in our country? Someone said obesity, someone said guns. Guns is the #1 killer of our kids. And if you're in an urban area, it's homicide. If you're rural, it's more likely to be suicide. I couldn't hear that. The role of public health is injury prevention, and so we have a program, and our police has it as well, for trigger locks, right? We want you to keep your weapons secure. Guns are legal. If you have a child in your home, keep that gun secure. And as your kids become teenagers, think about them, think about their mental health, and reconsider access. The most likely time a child is going to commit suicide is during their teenage years. And in our community, that's when they're given more freedom for hunting. So consider all of those factors, and if you're a gun owner, secure your weapons.
Thanks, April. And Donna, any short thing as we finish
Yeah.
up our time here?
I would say,
No, don't take it that way. It's just, I'm looking at the clock.
I mean, I'm taking that
you know.
personally, but two things, I think. One is community engagement. We want to be your trusted partner. We are present. We want to be engaged in a lot of community outreach events and have really bolstered our efforts to that end over the course of the last year and a half. And then the other piece I would say is we have a foundation and a grant-making arm that we align with key non-for-profits that align with our community health needs assessment, and we help support them financially in their mission.
Okay, I'll thank our panelists, but I just want to say I didn't say it up front. When I got asked to serve on this panel, I think I said I would do it, and then I asked who the panelists were going to be. I have worked with these 3 exceptional leaders for the full time I've been at the Path Foundation, really, for about 8 years. So thank you. Join me in thanking them.
Perfect. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Ryan, Donna, April. We really appreciate it. It is now my privilege to introduce the final segment of our program, which promises to be a thought-provoking exploration of workforce and education. In today's rapidly evolving landscape, the intersection of workforce development and education plays a pivotal role in shaping the future of our society. Our panelists are leaders in education and workforce and could certainly talk about this topic for hours and hours. I know that each of them are working diligently in introducing innovative strategies for bridging the gap between education and employment and ensuring that individuals are equipped with the skills and knowledge necessary to drive sustainable economic growth. We'd like to invite our panelists to come forward and take their seat at the table as I introduce our panel moderator, Winona Pritz, Business Development Coordinator for the Culpeper Department of Economic Development. Winona is a graduate of University of Virginia's McIntire School of Commerce, where she studied management and marketing. In her role, she oversees Be a Culpeper Local, Choose Culpeper Farms, and the Culpeper Harvest Days Farm Tour. She is the visionary behind the Be a Culpeper Local Week program and launched Choose Culpeper Farms. Winona also currently serves on the Career Partners Board of Directors as a coach for the E-Squared program and has served as a mentor for high school students through Culpeper's Technical Education Center. I'll pass it on to Winona. Thank you.
Thank you for having me today, and I'm so excited to introduce our panel. I've also had the pleasure of working with several of our panelists today. So you guys are in for a treat. So up first, we have Randy Richard Lutz. Many of you may recognize Randy. She has been in the education field for over 28 years, beginning as a teacher at Culpeper County High School. Since she has served in various administration roles, it has led her to her current role as Director of Career and Technical Education for Culpeper County Public Schools. Ms. Richard Lutz works closely with E-Squared Competition, mock interviews, career exploration, the STEM Airfest, and the Maker Energy Fair, if you guys didn't check that out recently. She is also involved with Career Partners, Inc., where she has been a member since 1999. She has served as past chair of the Culpeper Chamber of Commerce and has been a board member for many years. She serves on various Path Foundation committees and is current chair of the new Chamber's Futures Foundation. Next, we have Gina Davis. She boasts over 2 decades of experience as a distinguished leader in early childhood education. Her expertise extends to guiding nonprofit organizations, nurturing childcare programs, empowering educators, and championing families and children. Presently, she holds the esteemed position of Executive Director at Foundation First. Additionally, she serves as the Ready Region North Central Coordinator for a groundbreaking state initiative aimed at enhancing early childhood education across 8 counties and 3 cities in Virginia. Up next, we have Dr. Janet Gullickson, President of Germanna Community College since July of 2017. Germanna Community College is the largest provider of workforce credentials in the entire Virginia Community College system. And finally, we have Marty Bywaters Baldwin. I mess it up every time, I'm sorry, Marty. He enjoys all things workforce related. His most interesting job was as a bean farmer in El Salvador. The most profitable job was when he met his wife, Sarah, as a school janitor in Vancouver. And his most enjoyable job is his current role as a chief mission officer for Rappahannock Goodwill. So, Randy. I know you didn't want to go first, but I'm going to kick you off anyways. So our first question is perfect for you. With the ever-evolving demands of the 21st century workforce, how are you preparing students, not just academically, but also with critical life skills?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I do have to say that most of my bosses are in the room, as in the school board, so if they'll wave, I must say thank you to them. And is Tim still in the room? Because I'd be remiss if I didn't say good morning to the sheriff. You're welcome. So this is a great question. In Culpeper County Public Schools, we believe in graduating skilled scholars. Remember that term, skilled scholars. So we don't want them to leave with just a diploma, right? We want them to leave with some skills. And that's every student, every senior, where they're going to straight into the workforce, to the military, to the to 4-year, 2-year, all college is college, where they're going to college. And we want them to leave with credentials. And another term I want you to remember is stackable credentials. We want them to leave with more than one thing. So when you graduate that day, you're getting your diploma, but we hope that you've been in one of our programs like healthcare. At CTEC, students can leave that program with 3 credentials. They leave with healthcare technician, which is CNA. They also can do our med assistant program and leave with a med assistant credential, and then they can do a patient technician credential as well. So all of us that went through school, I don't think there's any really old folks in here. We're all pretty young, right? We left with diplomas for the most part, but now they can leave with so many credentials. So that's really key to us. So remember, skilled scholars, stackable credentials, and we want them to be productive members of society. That's the bottom line. And that's a K through 12 initiative, and it's an initiative with our partnerships here. But we want them to be productive members of society. So we are teaching them volunteerism. We're teaching them soft skills like how to shake a hand, eye contact. These are things that they need when they leave with that diploma. But you've also heard of the challenges that we have. And folks, that's going to take every single one of us in this room and frankly the country. And it's here, it's hit us, and we don't just leave today and say we had a good talk and we had a good breakfast. We have got to continue to work together in the Culpeper community to graduate our skilled scholars. There you go.
Okay, so I represent Birth to 5. And so one of the things that I think is extremely, extremely important for people to understand is all of the things that happen in these other places start here with children birth to 5. 90% of a child's brain is formed by the time they're 5. So their success in K through 12 or higher ed all starts with 0 to 5. And it's the families, it's the programs, and how the community can really start to expand and explore and understand. Everyone thinks childcare is babysitting, and it's not. It's the moment your baby is born, you are speaking to them, you are loving them, you are sharing knowledge with them, you're modeling to them. And so as soon as families understand and businesses understand that it starts with us, that the workforce of tomorrow is actually birth to 5 today, and the more that we invest and look at that as a community and as a country and as a state, I do believe the returns will come back to us as an organization for Foundation First and also for your community in Culpeper.
Well, good morning, everyone. I want to thank the Chamber for putting this together. I think you know this, but I think it needs to be said out loud that you have the best chamber in Culpeper County. And I do have a story. When I was in college, my father had my boyfriend at that time drive a combine 55 miles. So that was a trip. And we broke up. So, but anyway, really am grateful to be here. It is difficult to underestimate the needs of large segments of our population right now. Some of the safety nets that I might have grown up with are not available to people. Many people are working multiple jobs, and we have many of our students who, and probably Randy, you had this too, many students who are the primary breadwinners for their families, or at least contribute significantly to the incomes of their families. And so our goal, I think everyone at this table, is to be sure that they have a better life than maybe they are having right now. So at Germanna, I'll talk about two different things. We have outcomes directly that related to their education that we actually measure around civic engagement, around the ability to understand history as it has happened over time, around critical thinking skills. We actually measure that with our students. We actually really do monitor in our coursework which classes are teaching which, so that we know exactly where a student might learn critical thinking, for example. So we're responsible for that. We take that stewardship very, very seriously, and I guarantee that we do that with our students who graduate. But there's another piece here, and if there's a recurring theme at all this morning, it's that some of our neighbors need help. And so at Germanna, and I know in the agencies represented here, we provide food pantry, we provide diapers, we provide transportation, emergency money, we provide gas cards if people can't get to and from training and education. We provide internships that are paid for many of our students, and that's particularly true in healthcare. And we're working with the hospital, as Donna said, to be sure that we develop something similar in this community where students are paid while they learn to be nurses. We also provide students with mentors. Any student who wants a mentor, we will train and connect them with a human being. And if you're interested in that, Dana Cook is right here. She's from Germanna, and she can easily hook you up. But the reality is that if we don't do our job, and Gina said it so well, if she doesn't do her job, all of these problems come together and multiply. So the best thing about today, in my opinion, other than being in good company, is that we recognize pieces where we can insert ourselves to be helpful in partnership. I'll give you one example. we have a grant that we used, and we're going to continue the program to develop a community mental health worker, which I think, getting back to the police chief's conversation, is a nice surrogate for maybe not a PhD in psychology, but at least someone who has the skills to talk someone off the ledge. And the community health worker that April talked about is really another good example of using resources that aren't exceptionally expensive, to be honest. It's not that expensive to go to Germanna Community College, but using resources so that we can insert the right people for the right job at the right time. And I want to thank you for your support of Germanna, especially if there are rich people. Any rich people here? I heard that. We give about $1 million in scholarships every year, and most of that is need-based, so whatever help you can provide, that would be awesome.
I heard that plug. I'm going to do that next.
Well, I appreciate this question about critical life skills, because what we've heard from you as a business community is that it's the soft skills, it's the interpersonal skills that you most desire in your workforce. And so a few years ago, Rappahannock Goodwill did a survey with Culpeper Chamber members to find out the state of Virginia has a list of these critical soft skills, and we said, which ones are most important to you? And we came up with a curriculum to teach those skills to young adults. Carl's point about location matters applies to agriculture and to workforce development. So surprisingly, young people didn't want to get up at 8 in the morning on a Saturday to see a PowerPoint about soft skills that I thought were important for them to learn. And so we decided to change the location. And so we rolled out the Groundwork Project, which is at Verdun at Venture Bound. So instead of teaching kids in a lecture style about soft skills, they learn about communication, conflict, how to manage their own nerves, how to work together as a team, take initiative, while they're doing high ropes and low ropes course events, while they're problem solving, working as a team. The first half of the day, they do these teamwork events, and we reflect on them. The second half, they work with our Goodwill staff to create a professional portfolio, where they translate those skills into interview techniques and resumes. And then the last week, we bring in partners, businesses to do interviews with the young people. Also, Germanna comes to talk about next steps that they can advance in their career. So that's one way that we're trying to tie together those critical skills in the workforce. I'll give you a little bit of our approach, the ABCs. The interesting thing is that what businesses want is also what we as individuals need. So the A is autonomy, belonging, and competency. So we all want to be ourselves, to belong to a group, and to be good at something. And interesting, as we teach young people those things, they're meeting their own needs, but it's also exactly what businesses want. So that's the kind of comprehensive way we're trying to integrate soft skills into workforce.
Thank you so much, Marty. And I know you touched just now on how you helped with students. Can you tell us a little bit about how your organization identified gaps between community members and the businesses, and kind of how you guys have addressed that, and any success stories?
Yeah, we see workforce development kind of as a sandwich. So we're on the front end, the first piece of bread, identifying people off the street and what their skills are, their interests, to doing career assessments. Then we have to refer folks to our good partners that can do the training, the actual skills work. But then on the back end, we're the second piece of bread, placing adults and young people with businesses. That's kind of the sandwich. I'll tell you a story of how identifying those needs from both sides has worked out well. There's a young man who's a veteran who came to our office during the pandemic, and he was living in his car. He had a bunch of different needs, and so the Veteran Services connecting with some of those services, and he said, I really want a job that's going to help with a lot of issues. They referred him to one of our federal grant programs that can pay for training. As we were going through that assessment phase, he said, my family comes from transportation, trucking. I'd love to do that, but never had the opportunity. It's a $5,500 course to get your CDLA license. Our grant was able to pay for that. He went to training school, got his license, and then we worked with our business connections to say, hey, we got a veteran. He's got a CDLA license, really driven. Do you have a job? We were able to help him get a job that makes 6 figures. So he went in the span of 3 months from living in his car to driving a truck, and now he's purchased his first home. So that's the connection that we tried to make.
Thank you so much, Marty. And to the rest of our panel, if you have any success stories of how you've kind of identified and bridge the gap between community needs and business needs. We'd love to hear about those.
I have the best success story. CTEC. Raise your hand if you've been to CTEC. That's incredible. That makes me so proud. If you haven't been, I want you to come get my card afterwards, and I want you to come see it, because folks, Culpeper did really well with this. And when we talk about partnerships, this is a partnership between our local school system, secondary education, our local government, of course, the school system, and our business community, and our nonprofits. And when I say we answered the call, Culpeper, we answered the call. We had a great school board led by Dr. Brads and our board of supervisors at that time that came together. We had a joint planning committee that had board of supervisors members, school board members, some business folks that are in the room right now, and of course, Dr. Gullickson and some of her staff. And we planned for years. We went to different school systems to see what they were doing with career and technical education. We looked at our own school system. We already had a robust CTE program, but how could we grow it? And a lot of time went into that. 7 days a week, we were all over the place. We were coming up with career pathways together. What programs were we going to put in this building? We looked at labor market needs together in the locality, the region, and the state. We met with Donna and Jeff Say in the hospital. We met with all kinds of you in the room in business industries. What did we need in that building? And it's there. And we just did signups for next school year. In less than a week, we had almost 350 students signed up for next year, and it's continuing to grow. This doesn't happen, folks. We have had, I wish you could see the amount of visitors we have had to CTEC, because they want to replicate this in their school division. And without these partners and these stakeholders in a room very much like this, it wouldn't have happened. And it doesn't end there. Chris and Tim, we're working with them right now to bring criminal justice. We hope to have that at the Daniel Technology Center. The campus is right beside CTEC, and we're going to dual enroll that with Jan and her crew, and our kids are going to get on a pathway, like Chris said, for criminal justice. I know juniors in the room. We have students signed up. We're interviewing next week for a firefighting instructor, and we're going to have firefighting there. How exciting is that? So, great success story, folks. Be proud of CTEC.
So I don't know that I have a specific story, but what I think our organization is really trying to do right now is to understand. Our organization's only been around this will be 2 years officially with our new brand and a new role with the Ready Region North Central Lead Agency. And so right now we have built a community task force where some of you, I don't run that one of my managers does, but we are really trying to understand what is going on in our communities for families and for educators and program leaders that run the child care centers that your children or grandchildren might go to. And so by understanding what is happening in those places, we can now start to strategize and work together to build those solutions as a team and as a community. So don't have any specific stories right now because we're just on the brink of getting this started, but excited to hopefully come back again and be able to share some of that. But I think one of the things is employers need to know what their employees need. And so part of that is we want our businesses on our task force so that we can understand how we can come back to them and support them in different ways and strategies to support their employees in a better place. And when parents can leave their children in a protected place, they are your best employees for you guys.
Well, there isn't a person at this table I don't have a partnership with in some way, shape, or form. And the reason for that is that we're all focused, laser focused on what's best for our community. And that's what's so beautiful about Culpeper. I think Culpeper and this is not a joke. Culpeper is an amazing community. You all know that. And because of that, you all come together when there's a need. And that's really exciting. One of the meetings we had last week was with UVA Health in Culpeper to think about how we can really create a workforce plan together with the high schools and with, you should be at that table too, I think, and with Germana to figure out what's best so that you have the healthcare workforce that you need. Just as an FYI, there's going to be incredible competition for workforce healthcare workers, a workforce in healthcare, in part because of the VA clinics that's coming to Fredericksburg. It's going to employ about 600 to 900 people, and we want to be sure that we don't take nurses from Culpeper to go there, and we want to be sure that we have enough nurses for everyone. And to that, Germanna is committed to doubling our nursing program output within a few years. We already have the largest nursing program in the state, but we're planning to double that in the next few years because the need is so dire. One of the other things that we have worked on too is just being sure that we are using our resources wisely. When we sat down today, Marty and I talked about why doesn't Goodwill take over some of our job placement services, because they're expert on it. And one of the things too we all have to realize is that the workforce of today is not at all like the workforce that you and I maybe started. And maybe we'll talk about that more in the panel, but that is a really important recognition, and we'll talk about that some more.
Thank you so much. And Dr. Gullickson, if you don't mind sharing a little bit for us about how the education sector and local businesses can collaborate to create effective pathways.
I'll give you just one example from yesterday. We met with John Hua, who runs Rappahannock Electric Cooperative, and we decided that we're going to come up with that workforce plan. So he's going to give us the workforce needs that he anticipates through the rural cooperative, and we will then backfill those needs with our own training and education program. These data centers are going to also be transformative for this region, and the number of people that it will take to build these data centers will surpass any expectation that we probably have. So we're going to lay his needs, the REC's needs, on top of what Germanna can do, put new programming in where there are holes, and really think about this in a whole new way. So we talked, for example, yesterday of doing an electrical apprenticeship with REA or REC, so that we can be sure that at least some of those needs. By the way, the needs include solar. The needs include all the installations for electric vehicles. The needs include the power needs for the Amazon and Microsoft data farms. And so this is transformational for the entire Germanna region.
I like the question about sustainable employment and appreciated the previous speakers talking about how to become competitive as an employer. So the living wage, MIT has a calculator. You can look up by county what the living wage is for our region. Last year, for our area, is $18.50 an hour. That's for one adult, no kids, just to make the basics pass. Add kids and it shoots up exponentially. I'm proud to say that Rappahannock Goodwill helped 1,800 people find jobs in our 16 counties in Central Virginia last year. It was a record year for us. Even more proud of the 150 Goodwills in the nation. We were number 3 with the starting wage of those jobs, $21 an hour. So real proud about that. Here's the challenge. That living wage jumped up from $18.50 to $23 an hour this year. So in order to make those kind of sustainable jobs, employers are going to have to be creative, and we're going to have to be creative in developing the workforce to bring that value to employers. I think Culpeper is unique. It was the chamber that led the initiative 30 years ago. Randy was in preschool when she helped start. Norma Dunwoody with the chamber led a summit, said, hey, this workforce of the future, businesses are going to have new needs and what we're preparing for. I think Culpeper's been unique in opening up what's sometimes a closed system of business with a sometimes closed system of education and providing opportunities for interaction and exchange of information. So there's lots of opportunities here for businesses to host internships, learning experiences. Next month, we've got mock interviews for all the 11th graders that are coming through Culpeper schools. There's lots of opportunities for you to get to know some of the young people coming out, and then also for education to learn what businesses' needs are. And I think that's how we create a sustainable pathway, is that two-way communication between.
And Marty just touched on a lot of the things that I believe Randy probably would have shared. Is there anything else that you would like to add about creating a sustainable workforce?
How many of you have heard the school system doesn't know what they're doing?
I see a couple hands. I see a couple hands.
I ask because I hear it from time to time. We don't know what we don't know. And we don't get anywhere unless we have meaningful conversations. And it's easy to say, oh, they don't know what they're doing. These kids are graduating and they have no goals. And you know what? I go back to what I said earlier. It takes all of us. But to have these meaningful conversations and collaborating together is key. And you know what? One thing that takes is time. And we have to make the time to collaborate and work together. And you know, it took years to get CTEC, but what worthwhile time that was. So we got to make the time to collaborate.
Thank you guys so much. Now, looking forward, what are some of the significant challenges or opportunities that you guys foresee in education and the workforce development field?
So, as everyone knows, ARPA funding was a huge opportunity for the state and for the country as a whole. And actually, Virginia did amazing things with ARPA funding and invested millions and millions of dollars into early childhood, not only to stabilize the industry, but also to create opportunities for families to get access to subsidized care. And actually, I don't know if any of you guys know right now, with the governor's budget, we are looking at, you know, for the first time, a bipartisan opportunity to invest and keep the slots using general state funds, or else we would have lost over 30,000 childcare slots for children because their parents can't afford it, and those 30,000 slots were paid for by ARPA funding. So during COVID, that was an amazing opportunity where families could go to work, have access to any kind of public funding, whether it was Head Start, Virginia Preschool Initiative, the Child Care Subsidy Program, and another program called Mixed Delivery. And so right now, we're hoping and praying that the governor's budget goes through with the new conferees that just came out 2 weeks ago, where they are still continuing to keep the same amount of slots for those publicly funded children, which means those 30,000 children, those parents can work. And so as an industry, everyone thinks, again, like we're babysitters, but again, regardless of what you see us as, we're the people that take care of the children while you guys are able to work. And so it's really, really, really important that everyone is invested, and I think businesses, the missing gap that we're feeling right now is that yes, the state has brought some dollars to the table, but now it's time for businesses to bring their pockets. And so that public-private partnership to fund early childhood so that families and workforces can strive, that's the biggest challenge in front of us right now.
So I'm going to go back to the number that Marty cited, $23 an hour. How many of you or do your children pay $23 an hour for childcare? And that's without any kind of benefits, et cetera. So we have to lift up educators and childcare providers for being what they are, which is surrogate parents and sometimes the only parents for some children, and really, as a society, figure out how to provide childcare. A district attorney once told me that the most dangerous time for teenagers is after 3 o'clock at night or in the afternoon until about the time their parents get home. So I think embracing our responsibility to raise children together is really important. And we will not be able to solve the workforce issues that we have unless we do that. The second thing I see as challenging is artificial intelligence and what that means and how to get your arms around it, your hands around it. We actually are approaching some folks to start an artificial intelligence degree because more and more of you, again, we heard different instances in the healthcare system as well as in the public safety area, and I would guess in agriculture, where artificial intelligence is really important in terms of productivity, but it's also important to try to understand and put some level of guardrails around it because it can be potentially quite dangerous. The next thing I'll say, and this is a scarcity issue, and it's all of us here. We don't get enough money to do what we're supposed to do, and I don't mean that to be harpy, but it's just the truth. Virginia State funding for community colleges, for example, is 37th in the country, and that's not enough. We have data warehouses, data centers coming. Germana's not getting any additional funds to train and educate those people. I'm excited that the Culpeper schools are starting the law enforcement program. We did not have the resources to do that. Just want to point out, we're not charging you rent at DTC. Just want to be sure you know that. But unless we really say, I have this to contribute to the solution, rather than to say, as Randy said, this is the problem, we won't move forward on some of the most crucial issues that we have right now. The final thing I'll say is about the workforce. If you think people who speak Spanish are bothersome, and many people don't because they rely on them for their businesses, understand that we are becoming a minority-majority country, and unless we figure out how to work together and live together in a multicultural, everybody counts, everybody's important, unless we understand that, we won't be able to supply the workforce that you need, and you won't be able to keep the workforce that you need. All of us have to come together and come up with a culture that values families and individuals.
To touch on something Dr. Gullickson said, I think with workforce changing as rapidly as it is, the skills, the technology, the needs changing, we need a public-private investment, a partnership. As new companies come in, I think we demonstrated today there's an integrated system from birth through aging to help connect people with the skills and resources to be successful in the workforce. We need that public-private partnership to really make that system work.
I think the challenge is an aging workforce. And what the need is skilled workers. The opportunity is career and technical education, and the solution is high-quality work-based learning. And how does that work? Students come to us, they take career and technical education, we're also partnering with higher ed, so they're leaving with that diploma, or maybe multiple, they might be getting a certificate from Germana as well, they're leaving with those credentials, and we're helping that aging workforce. Folks, that's, in my opinion, our biggest thing that we're faced with. When Jan talks about the data centers that are coming, I don't think Culpeper's really grasped quite yet how many trades folks we're going to need. And of course, like I said, the opportunities, career and technical education. Let's get these students in there so we can help with this aging workforce.
Can I put a plug in for the Future Educators Academy?
Yes.
So I don't know if any of you have worked closely with Tony Brads, but he's like a dog with a bone. And he is 100% invested in what's good for the children of this community. We created a partnership among Madison, Orange, Fauquier, and Culpeper Schools and Germana to create a Future Educators Academy. And in brief, we're recruiting for these slots right now. In brief, if you're junior, senior, sophomore, junior, senior, sophomore, junior. Junior, senior? Okay. Okay. All right. But we are recruiting right now for next year, so that's why I'm thinking it might be sophomore, junior. But here's the deal. So if you live in one of these counties and you want to be a teacher and you're in one of these high schools, you can come and get the first 2 years of a teacher's degree free. Free. No debt, tons of support, and you will go to DTC to do that. So if you have anyone in your family or that you know of who might be interested in this program, please tell them to talk to their guidance counselor. The hope is that the student will graduate with their high school diploma in the first 2 years of a teacher's degree at the same time. The students then would go to colleges like JMU and hopefully for free or very reduced costs complete that teaching degree, and then they're being asked to come back to the rural communities, these communities, to teach for 2 years after. This is exciting, and it is the best example of what Tony can do when he has a bone. Honestly.
Well, I just want to thank our panel so much for their time and their insights today. Do we have time for a question or two? Just maybe one. Does any one person have a question? Okay, perfect. Well, thank you all so much for your time again today.
Thank you, Winona. Thank you, Randy. Thank you, Gina. Thank you, Dr. Gullickson. Thank you, Marty. As we conclude this event, I want to again express our appreciation to our presenters and to our panelists and our moderators. Your expertise and passion are really what make this event worth attending. To our presenters and our panelists, thank you for sharing your insights. Your thoughtful contributions have deepened our understanding of critical issues. And to our moderators, thank you for guiding us through this journey. As we depart, let's carry forward the lessons that we've learned and the connections that we've made working together towards a brighter future. Thank you all for your contributions to this successful event. Safe travels, and we hope to see you all soon.